So the last part for today is about geographical terms. So let me start with some of the illustrations I used last week to talk about the toponymy, the place names for different villages and towns and other places in Britain. So here we have two graphic images of the coastline with some features of the coastline, like main features, the beach, the bay, the blowhole. This when the water from the sea is kind of sprayed through a hole in the ground, so it's like a geyser, but produced by the sea, really. We have what else? The headland, the sea stacks, which are quite interesting, like little stumps of rock. We have a sea cave, a natural bridge. So the parts of the land actually going into the water. We also have a wave-cut platform, so the kind of rock formation that is created by the movement of the sea, by the force of the sea. Next one. Very similar with the bay and the beach and a headland, but rather than calling it a natural bridge, it's called an arch. There is a difference between a stack and a stump. As you can see in a little moment, there are very many terms that are similar, so it's just a question of size usually, like what is a stack and what is a stump. A stack is larger than a stump. It's kind of solitary rock in the water next to the shore, but otherwise it's just a question of size. There are some things in the rock or stone here, like the crevices, the knocks, the caves. They could be connected with the sea or not necessarily. So here we have all those names. I hope they are familiar to you, because now I'd like to show you another map. This is a map I found online and I love it. I really love it. It's beautiful. It looks like an old map. It's completely fictitious because the idea is to illustrate all kinds of geographical terms, geographical definitions. So I will upload it to Moodle so you can look at it in great detail. But now let me quickly go through, let's say, 4 quarters of this pictorial chart of geographical definitions, starting from upper left and then going right and down. So let's look at those terms. Some of them are really quite well known, so I hope they are not a lot of vocabulary study for you, like the chain of mountains. It could be a range of mountains as well. We have a tableland, sometimes using the Spanish word mesa for it as well, so kind of flatland created naturally. We have the valley, the lake, the cascade, or a waterfall. I guess again the difference is in the size. We have some human places of occupation, and we will return to them in a little moment. So for now you can look at the hamlet, which is probably the smallest of those places of human occupation. We have also a fortified town. A fortified town could also be called a borough. So this is originally the term borough. We have a rainbow, so there are some meteorological terms here as well, but we have 2 more interesting things here, or more even. We have the sea, of course. We have a gulf, so a kind of contained part of the sea surrounded by the land. The narrowest part between the sea and the Gulf is called the Strait. And if you have a narrow piece of land between two bodies of water, like the Gulf and the bay here, such a narrow piece of land, narrow strip of land would be called an isthmus. An isthmus. In Polish it is przesmyk, if you are Polish speakers here. And also we have a hill, so of course it's all the matter of size, so smaller rising of the land. So here we have that. Next part, we have some rain and water spouts, which is quite interesting. These are those rather dangerous looking things that can form the tornadoes, really, but with the water. We have some islands, we have a source of a river, we have a volcano, we have some human elements. We have a city, a village, a lighthouse, but also some natural things such as a geyser, that is this natural, usually hot gushing of water. We also have again ocean, the sea, and some words referring either to the narrow bodies of water, like a strait. So between a sea and a bay we have a strait, a narrow part between two bodies of land, or some parts of land extending into the sea, such as a promontory, a point, a cape, and a headland. So here we have different ways of calling different types of what you might generally call peninsulas, but a peninsula would be a very large piece of land extending into the sea, while the cape, the point, would be much smaller. Promontory and headland would usually be quite steep as well. So there we go, part 3. So we have the isthmus and the bay with some smaller body of water extending into the land called an inlet. We have a fortified town with the canal leading from it to the harbor. So that's of course a man-made feature of the landscape, while a natural thing equivalent would be either a river or a creek, like here. A creek is a smaller river. We also have a tunnel, we have a shore or coast, we have a harbor, which is of course a navigable small bay or inlet. We have a fort guarding the mouth of the harbor. We have a neck of land, so this is like an isthmus but connecting the mainland with the peninsula, because we have a large peninsula here, perhaps with some smaller capes and promontories visible. There is a castle on the peninsula. There is a reef on the left hand side of the peninsula, so the kind of semi-submerged stones or sometimes coral reefs that are quite dangerous for the navigation. And we have another name for a type of a narrow narrow body of water, like a strait really, but larger. So a larger strait here between the peninsula and an island is called a sound. It doesn't have to be between the peninsula and an island, but it has to be broader than a strait. So as you can see, sometimes these words are used as synonyms, but I thought it would be a good idea to look at this map and to talk about it for a little moment. And we also have a windmill here. So the last quarter with the city, a river, we have a tributary stream, so even smaller than a creek, and the tributary means it doesn't go into the sea, but it falls into a river, and together they go into the mouths of the river. It is connected with the sea. We have a bay, a smaller bay called a cove. We have a buoy, which is a kind of man-made sign for navigation. We have a cape again on a kind of narrow peninsula formed by the mouth of the river. We have a channel and a passage, so two more words for the places, the navigable places between the two bodies of land. An archipelago, so a group of islands, an individual island with the lighthouse. So back again to the entire map. As you can see, it's completely fictitious. It has quite a lot of names, mostly referring to the areas of land and the areas of water, and especially the connections between them. So that's what we have. We also have some other terms concerning meteorology and also the different words for human habitation. Speaking of human habitation, I actually put a little table here with some of the words like a hamlet, a village, a town, a city, with two more added as an extra. So a borough, which originally was a self-governing walled town called a burgh in northern England and Scotland, and a civil parish. A civil parish is an interesting invention of the 19th century. Of course, using the older ecclesiastical division of land into parishes, but from the 19th century onward, it has been used as a unit of administration used for local government. So the word parish doesn't necessarily connect with the church in English geography, let's put it this way, or kind of political geography. It could be the smallest unit of administration used for local government. And what's the difference between a hamlet, a village, a town, and a city? So a hamlet, originally, like the definition, is the smallest unit of human habitation. So a small village without a church. So just a few houses together. This is not even a village because they don't have a church. To qualify as a village, a place needs a place of worship, so some sort of church or chapel, and a central meeting point. To qualify as a town, they need all that, so ditto, the place of worship and a central meeting point, plus a market. So a word town was usually meant to denote a market town, a place large enough to hold a regular market, and a town hall, so some sort of self-governing body and their meeting place. Of course, a city is larger with many places of worships, meeting points, markets, whatever. Traditionally, to qualify as a city and not a town, you needed to have a cathedral. Now it's a bit more complicated because some places have been given the status of a city as some sort of privilege from the reigning monarch. So there are some cities that do not have cathedrals, but traditionally the idea was that a town doesn't have a cathedral, so even a large place without a cathedral would still be called a town, and a city has the seat of the bishop, so the seat of the diocese, the church diocese, the same division in Catholic Church and Anglican Church, and a cathedral. The last thing is a little table with something that you might find useful perhaps for your teaching practice. I know many of you teach people English, and there are all kinds of questions how to use articles with geographic terms. So there are some places which use zero articles, so you don't use the article, like continents, countries and states, cities and towns, single mountains, single lakes, single islands, with some examples here, and a slightly larger table with places that require the definite article, so the. So what do we have here? Points of compass, poles, so the North Pole, the South Pole, some continents, but only the Arctic and the Antarctic, because all others do not have it. Some countries, but not individual countries, but unions of countries or states, like the Russian Federation, for example, or republics. And the Czech Republic, the Republic of Cuba. If you have the word republic in the name of the country, you have the definite article. So individual mountains do not have it. Groups of mountains, yes, the Himalayas, the Pennines, the Grampians. Single lakes don't have it, like Loch Lomond. They usually have this lake thing, Loch Lomond, Lough Neagh, if you remember. But groups of lakes, absolutely, the Great Lakes, or the Scottish lakes, for example. Single islands, nope. They can have, like, the Isle of Wight or the Isle of Man, but if it's just a name, then it would be Anglesey or Skye. But groups of islands have the definite article, so the Hebrides, the Orkneys, the Shetlands. What else? Oceans have the article, seas, rivers, so the Severn, the Thames, the Great Ouse, or whatever other rivers. The Avon, of course, one of those many rivers called Avon. So waterfalls, gulfs, the Gulf of Mexico, canals, channels, so either natural or artificial. The English Channel, of course. And deserts. Here we have the Sahara, the Gobi Desert. So that's it. This was a bit more linguistic, and I hope it kind of sums up together all those names that we have been encountering so far in our discussion of different geographical places. And next week we will complete the overview of the counties of England. So that's it. Thank you.